Nani ko lau poko I ke kaunga nau nā paliwi. E lele I tau a Puakea I Canoe. O hala e nei nā puahi le ua o laniu. O pulu ia nā palai Canoe lani. O la ka aina I tau ai o la mai ka lewa mai. O la ka lehu I ka hana pono mai kai. Aloha e, aloha e, aloha e.
Aloha. I want to welcome you to our virtual Canoe Fest here at Hakipuu, Kualoa, where we'll have great guest speakers discussing many of the cultures here at Kualoa with canoeing, the history of canoeing, and the culture of canoeing. We really want to welcome you to this program. Mahalo.
Yeah. I was given the name Robert William Kaiwa Puakea Jr. That was the name I was given. Today, I'm known as Robert William Puakea. This canoe that you see in back of me, it was not the way you see it. It was a 38-footer when it was first carved by my dad back in 1951. It took him about 3 years. I was able to paddle in her, in 1956, 7. And, and that was with the old Kamehameha Canoe Club of Hilo, the Big Island. In fact, I am from the Big Island, from a district called Keokaha. And, well, you know, it has been home to me for as long as I could remember. I'm a Kamehameha School grad, class of 1958. In a way that puts me today at the age of 80. But, you know, what I've been doing is something that I love. I mean, I eventually got to love it. But at the beginning, I said, this is too much work. You know, but as I started with this canoe. Its name in the old days was known as Hilo Boy. Now you say, boy, was there a girl? Yes, there was. There was 2 logs. Both of those logs came from an area on a Big Island that is known as Nakoa Prejean. It's an open gate prison. I mean, you know, the inmates can just walk down the road if they want to leave, you know. But it was really what I saw was it was a working prison. In other words, they brought lumber down or logs, whether it was koa, albesia, whatever, cut it into lumber, and lumber was sold, and some of them became carvers. No, not just carving canoes, they carved tiki, they carved whatever. So my dad, you know, I used to watch him. But watching him back then, it wasn't my forte that I was going to be doing this today. I was more interested in going swimming. Like Big Island, Hilo didn't have too many surfing areas, but had a lot of diving areas. Yeah, so that's what I got into. And although I'm not the best of swimmers, a couple of times, boy, I had to yell. But no, it wasn't until about 1968, I think, or 69. This gentleman who was coaching canoe paddling at Kalaheo High School, our son happened to be paddling for the school. And that was, yeah. So he mentioned to this person whose name is Kalai Hanley. He came to the house, you know, to our home, and talked about it. So I called my dad on the Big Island, and I asked him, we're going to form a club. So I need a canoe. So this was a canoe. It was, like I said, it was known as Hilo Boy back in the day. So I just redid it, left it the way it was, raced a couple of years in them as the hero boy. And with the club we had, it was known as Kualoa Canoe Club. And it was a great club. We had, great people. People was having fun. And those days, Lent was not the per se yet. But then the canoes started to get a little longer. Then the fiberglass came in, the fiberglass canoes. And so that kind of changed our attitude as to what we were going to do in the future. So I looked at it that I'll do as many canoes that needed repair or needed a new life. Okay, as this canoe started to grow in length and in everything else, my wife had told me, well, just keep the name Hilo Boy. I said, it's no longer Hilo Boy. It's a new canoe. It's a new, like somebody grew up, So I couldn't think of a name, but then this popped me on the side of the head. I said, in English, I said, reborn. In other words, the canoe was being reborn. So I asked around, and my grandma, I mentioned that. They said, well, reborn it can be new life, reborn, born again, So the name Ho'ola came out. And Ho'ola in English means Ho, new, Ola, life. Yeah. So I was able to do the canoes here in this area through the park. At that time was under a group called Friends of He'ia. I'm not sure if the park was under the state yet at that time. But when she came up for the renewal of the park, she lost it to Kawaipuna kids. Yeah. But with the Kawaipuna kids, they still allowed me to be here. Yeah. And so I just continued doing what I did. We got 2 containers there. One container, I told them face the door that way, and the other one face them this way. And it became my storage area because I didn't have anything here yet. It was just a tent that was kind of going sideways. So when Canoe Club started asking me if I could work on their canoe or give them new life, I said, well, okay. So I started with a canoe from Kauai. Hanalei is the Canoe Club Hanalei, their canoe. They sent it from the Hanalei and sent it down here. So that is what got me really going. And then got Ho'ola, which I renamed. Oh, this was, like I said, Hilo Boy. How did I get the name Ho'ola? I felt that I was putting new life. The canoe was being reborn again. Yeah? It is basically that. So today you're looking at a canoe that is at what you would call the regulation racing length, 45 feet, which is from tip to tip. Now the furthermost point. So if you look at the manus, that's what we call. We know it's manus. Manus are part of nose. Manu iho, manu hope. So you look at the top. If they're straight up and down like that boat end, that means they're 45 feet from that end. If you see them bent like that, that means they're 45 from here to here. The canoe itself can be 44 feet, like this one. It's 44.6. But I had made, if you look at the canoe, I had made the nose a little bit down. So, yeah. When our son started in canoes, yes, it was. He had helped me work on this canoe. He helped me work on others. And then he decided that he wanted to make something, because he got into the carbon fiber or fiberglass. He got into that and he felt, geez, I can make a canoe lighter than a core canoe, So this guy, I don't know if you can see it, it's above me. It weighs, when it's finished, it weighs between 150 to 170 pounds. 2 people can just pick up both ends and put them on your car. And you can transport them on your car, on your rooftop, as long as you get the racks. Yeah. So he started this, and then he got the idea actually when he was on a big island. And he and a friend, they built the first one. He used it, and it did great, I guess, for him. So he decided, well, he's going to go that route, you know. But I've always told him, when you come in to help me. They do have tools out there, out in like the hardware store, some of them, that are used for carving. Like, you would wonder, how do they carve those calabash bowls, especially today? It's all by machine. In the old days, it was all by hand, you know. So they have tools that have a curve on both sides, and then it could be a real rough grit all around, or it could be blade. And then they just hold it in there and you just weave it back and forth, the power. Yeah. So I had to learn to use that too. Believe it or not, this was made, it was a piece of lava. It is what it is. It is lava. It was just a wood, a piece. Our grandson, God, I don't know how he did it, boy, but he somehow used, I guess, some kind of an equipment, some kind of tool that was able to shape this thing, even the side of them. How do you get them to look all rough like this? He goes, that's to show that it wasn't smooth all around. In the old days, the smoothest spot was right at the cutting edge, right in here. This was the smoothest spot, because it had to dig like this. And this, and this is an idea. This is just, my grandson also made this handle, and made a little one to fit. But like I said, the cordage back in the old days was, believe it or not, coconut. Not the coconut, I don't know what part of the coconut tree, but they were able to make rope out of that by weaving it all together. And then that is what used to be what they would tie this down with, And they had one like this, small hand tool. This one is a little bigger, okay? But I'll tell you something. When I was growing up too also, I used to watch my dad. These were his tools. And it was amazing. Amazing how he used it. I mean, today you will see people chomping. Chomping, whack them, When he was working with them, there was none of that. Everything was the weight of the tool. It would come down and you would hear that sound, like a chick, chick. It was that sharp. In fact, what he used to do was, after he gets it sharpened, he would, whatever hair is left on his arm, he would just go like that and just shave it off. And that's how sharp this was. That's why he used to tell us, don't anybody play with your tools or the kids, because they're going to get cut. But when he did work, he wore shoes. I told him, what? I want him to wear shoes. And he goes, well, it's just an addition to it. Because I do have some pictures, not here with me, but of him standing on a log with a tool like this going between his legs. And like he said, you don't have to go overhead. Like us, when we were learning, everything over the shoulder and whop, you know what I mean? Today, that's right in front of you, and you just let the tool do the weight of the tool. And you can hear that sound just like a beautiful. I try to encourage young people to come, but usually it's only on the weekend they can, because some of them are still in school, some of them, but usually when they come, I have 2 boys and 1 girl. They usually fight among each other, who's doing the better, who's doing the best, you know what I mean? So I would tell them, do your obligations first. If you're a military, to do your obligation in the military, do that. Get that over with. That's what, 3 years, I think you need to serve to, And then if you're going to college, get your college degree. Because this you won't get any degree from carving canoes, you know. What you're doing with carving a canoe or carving a log is you trying to pass what you were taught to pass on to the next generation. You know. And that's my first day for being here, is to pass the knowledge that I have on to the next generation. And I know our son has that. If he can do that, he can do this too. But he has said, almost like when he'll know when his time is. The people just have to come to really see what is going on, whether it's carving out of a log or repairing. Because clubs that have the koa canoe, a lot of them don't want to use their koa in the long distance races. That's the Molokai to Oahu race. A lot of them don't want to because they're afraid, because if it breaks, which it will do sometime, it's going to cost, it's not cheap to have it fixed. So that's why a lot of them are racing fiberglass, you know. But whatever chance I have personally, I have, in actuality, I have clubs or groups almost lined up for a while, both men and women. This year, I have a crew that's made up of girls from Kauai, Oahu, and the Big Island. But they don't paddle together, see, that's the thing. They paddle the day they race. So usually I go down to the race site on Molokai and I watch them, because I go down to rig the canoe, get them all ready for them. And I would look at all of them, and people say, what are you looking at? I said, I'm looking at all the sizes, trying to figure out where I'm going to put this one, where I'm going to put that one, in the canoe. Because I let them get in the canoe, and I watch the canoe, I go, oh my goodness, they'll never do it. I don't know, but I go along with the crew, but I'm not their coach. You see, that's the thing. And some of the coaches will look at me and tell me, what do you think, Uncle? I go, what do you think? You know, you're the coach, not me. Although inside of me, you can see that, you know. But the one crew that I don't know how you folks believe in folklore, whatever that word is, you know. It was, I forget what year it was, back in the 60s, I think, or the 70s. We were coming across Molokai with a women's crew, and the stroker was from a woman from California, no? What her name? Anyway, she was a Caucasian girl, and she was the one, after the one race, after the race, she came up to me and asked me, Uncle, I heard like drumming in the canoe. I was wondering what was that. I thought it was from the water. Did it? No, it was coming from the front of the canoe. And I said, oh yeah, it could be the water. He said, no, it was like a steady beat. So I looked at her and I said, you believe in what we Hawaiians believe in? She said, no. I said, well, we consider that as an omen, that you are being guided and you are being taken care of while you're out there in the ocean. There was one year that the Dolphins, oh boy, I tell you, the captain of my escort boat, we saw this school of dolphins swimming towards Molokai or going that direction. And the next thing, he pokes me on the side, he goes, Bobby, turn around. What if I said, turn around. I turn around and look, and here comes the dolphin. You know what they did? They swam alongside the canoe. And so close to the canoe, the girls couldn't paddle. So they look at me, I just went like this to them. Take your paddles up. You know. And anyway, they did. And after the race, they asked me, they did that, the dolphins did that for about maybe 20, 30 seconds. Then they went down, and the canoe went like, and the girls all look at me, and you know what I did? I yelled at them. I said, paddle, paddle, paddle! You don't look at me, see? So anyway, the Dolphins went back where they were coming from. Then one came back. He swam past the canoe and all the way in the front of the nose, good distance, turned around, stood up on his tail and did a hula. Then boom, boom, and took off. When we got in, the girls asked me, what was all that about? I go, it was just my mom. She came up to make sure you were all okay. And I used to tell them that, and I tell that to people, and they'll look at me. Well, there's something on this canoe, on the bow. It's a little, I carved a little figurine, and I put it on the, inserted at the bow. And because it was an area where I couldn't patch, for some reason I put a patch in there and it kept popping off. And it was getting me mad, I was getting angry, So one day I was just sitting here and all of a sudden I went, oh God, I want to slap my head. But I went over there and I patted the nose and then I made this, I sculptured and I placed it in there. It's there on the bow. And people ask me, what is this? I said, that's just my mom. And her aumakua is the dolphin. There. You want to laugh at what mine is? I'm the owl. But I cannot see this particular owl. Others sees it. Right here in this halau. One day we're here, everybody was standing out here. Oh, I saw their eyes, then they all looked at me and they said, Uncle, look up, look up. I said, what for? Look up. I look up, what? I go, you don't see it. I said, what? It's a white owl. I asked my grandma about why couldn't I see it. She said, for one, it's your aumakua. Number two, for us Hawaiians, when your time is near, that's when you see it. I went like, stay away. Stay. That's me, but when our time comes, it'll come, you know what I mean? These are the different types of paddles. You would say, wow, how come this paddle looks like this? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about this one. I was coaching the 14, 15 or 16-year-old girls in the stream down in Kailua, up, what's it called? Anyway, the stream down in Kailua. I was looking, waiting for them. Where the heck are they? They're off to one of the homes along the side of the canal that had a ramp. And I knew what they were doing. They were just relaxing. They had their legs up on the side of the canoe, like they were paddling, So when they finally came, I went with my finger. I went like this. They all came, they paddled over, they looked at me, I said, how was your rest? And they were that year, they became the top crew. They won in a state race, which was held on Kauai. And, but I mean, I made them these paddles. A lot of people would tell me, what are you doing, punishing them? I said, yep. The kids were, they were kids, their paddles would look, the blade would be like small like this. That's why everybody told me, boy, that's for adults. Even adults was having a hard time using this paddle, But it was their punishment, and it helped. I would say it helped them because when the state race came, boy, they just took off. They were, I think, about a boat, a canoe and a half at the finish line. Other coaches would come up to me and tell me, holy mackerel, what did you do to them? I said, nothing, I just gave them a paddle. Then they all look at the paddle, everyone. The steersman paddle, this is all, if you look at it, this is 10 degrees. Okay. We've tried all kind of degrees. There's a club on the mainland that they had a 15-degree paddle. The paddle went like this. And all it did was really just with the wrist, because you didn't have to pull back. All you had to do was just turn your wrist like that. And then because you had enough angle on that blade to that you didn't have to reach like how we do. You know, the Hawaiian stroke used to be armpits to the gunnel. You guys ever heard of that? In other words, you lean forward as far as you can, you get your armpit on the gun, and you reach forward, and you just pull back, all the way back. You know, that was the old style. You know, but that you could only do in about maybe high 20s, mid 30s strokes. I mean, strokes per minute. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I made this for the girls. Then as time went on, I started to do what we call the double bend, which was the same purpose, except with this paddle now, your stroke feels a little shorter, but it's not. It's the same as you would use, say, a straight shaft, 10 degree. You know. So, and then plus the wood in the paddle, like in this paddle, koa, albizia, mahogany, and well, why I say koa? Koa is for strength, and you know, but they still break. I mean, you know, you got some people. Don't ask me how they break them. And you got two other wood in here that's really light. I mean, they're, oh man, I tell you. But that's what I use to be sure that the paddle is not heavy. You see, like, yeah, Uncle, you see, the blade is not done yet, but you see how with the blade it's kind of heavier. But when that blade gets shaped down, it'll be as light as these here. And some other paddle makers, they would put a strip of core underneath here, across, you know. You see that. That's okay, but to me, it's too much time. Do it as simple as can. But I usually tell them, on the back face of this, yeah, use carbon fiber. I mean, not carbon fiber, the epoxy. Use a good epoxy, not epoxy, I'm going wrong. See, now I'm forgetting, epoxy is a glue. The paint anyway. It's a clear one, you put them on the back, and that thing is strong. I mean, use the clear one, so you still get your color that come out, but it's strong, it's strength, you know. To me, I think it's not the importance. It's the keeping it alive, number one. What I mean by alive is, well, like if we wanna, the canoe doesn't have to be carved out of core. It can be carved out of, like I said, literally any log that you can find that is straight enough. And when you find a log that is straight enough and big enough, you lay it down and you check both ends. You know why? You know, grain work in a log does not go straight. It twists, it turns. So you have a 30-foot log, you can look at one end and look at the other end. You look at one end, okay, it's this way. You go to the other end, it's this way. So you know either log is going to keep going this way or it's going to go this way. Yeah? But you don't know. No. So you cut a slab off. That's what usually my dad said. Just get a chainsaw, or one of the saws he had was the one with the rail. You put them on, and then you just, two guys on each side just walk and just guide the thing down the log. Because the log is straight, but if it wasn't, then he lays a plank on top of that so that machine, that saw can roll as it goes along. And then once you have that, then you turn the log over on the flat side, and you just chuck it and let it sit. You can let it sit sometime up to a year, just to see what's going to happen. And if nothing happens, then you can cut the sides, well, leave it go again. In other words, it's like, that's why a lot of people thought, oh, you get a log, you can build a canoe, say, in 3 years, 4 years. Nope. Even if you think the log is dry, it's not dry. The inside is wet. You know, it takes quite a while. But depends what kind of log. There are some logs that can dry fast. Some takes a little time. Koa is one of them that takes a little time. But you got to remember, in koa, There's 31, yeah, 31 different types of acacia. They call them, the per se name given is called acacia, Acacia. So you got from the yellow core to the darkest core, which is usually almost like red. And that's the heaviest of all the cores. You know. So, but my understanding is, like people say, what about the war canoes of old? They weren't cores. They were whatever type of log that they came across that they could build or carve these war canoes, from. Yeah. And if they had to, if the log was not big enough, I don't know if you saw some photos, I think Bishop Museum have it, of where the pieces, they had planks. How did they join it? It was actually something about some sap that they used, and then they had rope or cord that ran through it or around, and then that's how the sides were held like this. It's amazing what the folks of old used to do. Today we got we got glue. I try to tell these young people, do not look at this as per se your a job. You got to have a job. Or how are you going to survive? You cannot survive on canoe carving. No. Even if you had 4 logs to carve, you still can. The idea is that the learning that they come here to learn, a lot of it is by watching and listening. Yeah, that's the other thing, is listening. It's sometimes even when I work on the canoes and I tell people come and watch, I don't talk too much. I'm too busy. Well, we don't know what will happen in the future. I mean, for all we know, someone may awake and say, hey, how did they do that? What did they do? And hopefully that's the way it will awake. Because right now, with the way, I would say, when I said our country, I mean, well, I don't know, I might be saying wrong. I mean, I said country. Well, our home is here in Hawaii, okay? We are of one nation. We are overall known as Americans. Whether you see on TV where it says the blacks, I mean, I can understand their plight, but still sometimes it kind of hurts you, You try to tell yourself, we are American, period. Even people tell me, but you're Hawaiian. I said, yes, I am Hawaiian, yes. But as a nation, our nation runs from the East Coast all the way to the west, and for some reason, across the Pacific Ocean to Hawaii. But I don't know if I should say, if this is the right word to use, that Hawaii was discovered way after all of these other islands, the southern islands were discovered. Part of it is, would you know the reason why we were not discovered sooner? Because nobody thought about sailing up north. Everything was down south. Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Tahiti. Nobody thought about going up north. The reason for that was, back in the days, my understanding is the wonder in their mind, the people's mind back then was, is there anything up there? That's why we credit, what's his name, Captain Cook, for taking that chance. But you know what actually the chance was? He just happened to be sailing, figured, the way I was told. He just thought, okay, I'll just go this far and that's it. But then he saw birds. He saw birds flying and they were heading north, and he was going like, birds? What's the birds doing out in the ocean? They gotta have land somewhere. Oh, that's how he followed the birds. And what island did he see? The Big Island. Because he saw the highest mountain here in this region, is Mauna Kea. Right now, we're all concerned with racing, you know. So the canoes are all done, the core canoes are all built for racing, or carved for racing. Not so much as, I mean, for people who are having canoes done. They- they're all having it done for racing. For leisure and all that, well, for some they feel that it's not what their mind really is for. You know, what is a canoe today, a core canoe carved for? Racing. You know, unless somebody has the money and said, oh, I want a core canoe, what do you call it, a 45 footer to put in my house.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean. Just like paddles, you know. When some people see these paddles, they said, I don't want to use it. I said, that's what they're for. They're to be used, not to. He said, but they're too beautiful to be. I go, oh, boy, you know. But I didn't show you guys something. Yeah, what's this? Oh, this is why, you know, I look at different people who come either to purchase a paddle like this for ornament purposes, or if you're going to use it, then I would look at their body weight, I mean, the body and the arms and all of that, and then I thought, okay, I'll make one for you. It will be just as light, but it will be, they thought, what do you mean? You can make them just as light as this one? I go, oh yeah. You know, so that's what it is. But, well, the legacy I would hope for is that it doesn't die. That, you know, whoever comes along will continue. That's my legacy. You know. I'd like to, like I said, one of my legacies was that to leave this place the way it is to our son. Which is actually, it's like I said, I have my family, I have of my own. I mean, I'm married twice. My first family is I have one son and 3 daughters. No, the other way. I have 1 daughter and 3 sons. The oldest is my daughter. And then the oldest of the boys carries my name, or the grandpa's name. And but put everything together, the family that I have on both sides, I have something like 20 grandchildren, 17 or 18 greats. There's a possibility of 1 great on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
What are your hopes for the future of canoe building in Hawaii? What do you hope for the future?
Well, the future is that I hope it continues. I hope whether it's a family of mine or someone to carry on this legacy, you know. It doesn't have to be a family member, but as long as the culture is kept alive. Yeah. That's my dream, you know. In paddle making, I've always tried to stress to people that you're a canoe carver or you're a canoe builder, or whatever you want to be called. I've always said, how are you going to move it? You need something. You need an engine. Or you need, so the paddle was the next thing on the agenda, that you need paddle. Whether it's steering paddle, whether it's paddle, you still need that. I'd like to see the tradition of canoe carving continues. By who, it does not matter to me. It's as long as the tradition is carried on and it's passed on. my passing it on would be to those young gentlemen over there. Yeah? So it's just that I do have a love for core. I mean, well, yeah, right now for the core canoe, because everything that we're doing today pertains to core. You know, a core canoe, a core racing canoe, you know. It's beautiful to see a canoe like this in the water, you know what I mean? And then seeing the young people, well, not just, I say young people, but you got oldies like, I do have one lady, she loves paddling. She's almost 90 years old. She'll get in a canoe and I'm telling you, you sit back and you watch and you tell yourself, this is what it's all about. You know. Not just canoe carving or building or whatever you want to call it, but it's also the joy of being in one of them. Yeah. You can be in a fiberglass, but how about being in a wood canoe? Big difference.
Aloha! I want to welcome you here to Kualoa Regional Park. I want to talk to you a little bit about our program, our Ocean Rec program. It's a great program where we reach out to the children of Oahu. We teach the kids many things. We teach them how to paddle canoe. We teach them how to sail canoe. We teach them the makahiki games. It's a great place for them to learn the culture of Oahu. This place is a very sacred place, Kualoa. It's a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place where the kids can get in touch with their culture, their ancestry, and the aloha spirit that runs through all of us. So I really want to welcome you and welcome your children to spend time with us this summer and visit Kualoa Regional Park, Campground A. I'm going to leave you guys with a Kualoa rap song, which we sing to the kids on a daily basis. So here we go. 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to say this MC rhyme. So I said this rhyme I'm about to say. The rhyme was definite and it went this way. Took a swim test in the swim hole. I was amazed how far I could go. Then Justin put me inside the canoe. I was so happy I didn't know what to do. Then I took a walk to the fish pond where I lost my shoe. And then I saw a big honu. See, that's the life that I lead in Kualoa. So don't you see? So put your hands up in the air, wave them around like you just don't care. Say hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Have a great day. Peace.